chapter 12, and I'm verses 3 through 9. This is Paul again, the Apostle Paul. He's talking, he wrote a letter to a group of congregation that had formed in Rome, Italy, after Pentecost, trying to help them along, excuse me, in their understanding of what it means to be a church. So, verse 3, it says, "Don't think you're more important than you really are. Don't think you're worthless either. Be honest about yourself. God has given each of us different gifts and opportunities to be ourselves through that lens. Ourselves through that lens. Think about the human body as many parts, each with a different purpose, yet they all belong together. Same is true for us. Though we're all different, we belong to one another because we belong to Christ. Since God has given each of us different gifts, let's actually use them. If you're gifted at serving, then serve people. If you're good at teaching, teach in a way that helps others grow. If you're someone who encourages others, keep encouraging. If you're able to give, do it generously. If you're called to lead, faithfully. If you're helping those who are hurting, do it with joy rather than obligation. Let your love be genuine. Don't fake it. Hold tightly to what is good. Turn away from that which destroys people. I was born a boy. I remember when Megan was born, doctor came afterward, different doctor, not Lloyda's, not the one who coming in to check on Lloyda. Looked at down at the crib thing, the little plastic thing he was in, and he's like, "All right, who messed up?" I was like, "Wait, what?" It says girl, boy. Hello, what is she? Oh no, boy's the last name. Oh, okay, that explains. I was born a boy, a long line of boys born into the boy family clan. I was given a name that I didn't really choose, but I liked it okay. Mike, Michael. Hebrew means who is like God. I put a period there. I think in Hebrew, question mark. Who is like God? Mine's an exclamation point. Who is like God? Nah, not really. I like to say that. So my name's Michael. Last name's Boy. Born into a family. I had no choice. I had no say in it. Not a word. Didn't bother me. You know, as a kid, you don't know. Just born into a family. Later, I found out I was super blessed because my parents loved me, both of them. They would take us on vacation. We'd go camping. Loved it. A place called Muskegon, my favorite, up in Michigan. Sand dune. Walk on trails of sand in the woods, barefoot. So cool. We'd have these huge dunes. We'd roll them down them and stuff. Break our necks. So fun. I was so blessed. Right? But I didn't have any say in it. Every time when we were kids and we would play games like cops and robbers, or we always had to choose. For some reason, I always chose Bill. I don't know why. I mean, I didn't know a lot of Bills in my school. We had a lot of Johns and Tommies and Johnny, but not a lot of Bills. Any of you remember the courtship of Eddie's father? That show? Let me tell you about my That one? No? Yeah, thank you. How about the Incredible Hulk? Bill Bixby, the star. I love those two shows. I think maybe that's why. Bill Bixby knew the name. Oh yeah, the Hulk. Wasn't until I started questioning. family. Not a whole lot. My sisters were. My brother was a good guy. He would just be super annoying at times, especially when he beat me up. Hated that. Put me in a headlock. We never punched. He just put me in a headlock. We'd wrestle and put me in a headlock. Did I mention the headlock? Yeah. Cut off my blood. Times that's why I'm so bright. See, because family is super important, right? Having people who love you just because you're there. I mean, that's the truth, right? Your blood family, you don't, nobody chooses that unless you have the blessing of being adopted. I don't know. I always thought, man, how cool would that be? Like someone's actually picking you and then bringing you into the family. That's awesome. They didn't pick me. I just was there, you know? I was the youngest of four, growing up in a family, and I was clueless at how blessed I was. Until as I got older, I had friends, and I even older when I got into ministry and started dealing with young people, teenagers, and started meeting families that they were a part of. I thought, wow, mom and dad, thank you. They love me. They weren't perfect. There is no such thing as a perfect parent. We're not perfect as kids, right? It gets messy. Families are messy. So you grow up. Now I grew up home. All of you know it. Been hearing preachings. I wasn't. When I went to church, see, I didn't have a choice. I went to church because I had to go to. I always, I used to get on to parents sometimes. Like you make them go to school. Well, yeah, I mean they have to. I was like, you would make them go to school if there were no. Would you not? Well, yeah. Why? Because education. Of course they do. That's important. But you don't make them go to church. Well, I mean that's religion, and you don't want to. Like that's their eternal soul. That's gonna last way longer than what they learned in third grade, right? And I'm like, are you kidding me right now? This is super. I get it. Teenagers arm wrestling them for which weeks they might come. I get that, but I'm talking about children, right? Right. So when I'm saying Paul is talking about family now, but he's not talking about the physical family. He's talking about the spiritual family. He's talking about how many of us find ourselves here. Now, some of us have super long time, right? Long, long time. And others of us just got it. We have a little slogan that we have on our slides, and I come as friends, leave as family. I take that very, very seriously. I do. You know why? Because I'm a pastor and that's what you're supposed to do. No, no, I've been to a lot of churches where I never felt like family. Matter of fact, most of the churches I've been to never felt like. I was growing up, I had my family, and we would drive. We would drive 45 minutes to church. Sunday morning, Sunday night. And sometimes Wednesday night when my dad wasn't, we were always in church. I had like one friend in church growing up, Greg. We'd go over each other's houses sometimes on Sunday. All those years from I was like 8 years old when we started going to the church, all the way up until I was went to boarding school. People tried to make connections, just never made a lot of connections. Except for Greg. Greg, I remember went on a retreat, middle school, 7th grade, maybe 6th grade. Like we were heading to the mess hall. I was like, dude, you need to brush your teeth, bro. breath is bad. He says, I don't brush till breakfast, after breakfast. I'm like, ew. Started thinking twice about that friend, right? Oh, it's like, okay, whatever, dude. We're friends. We're friends because of church. And then as soon as we moved away from church, we never talked to each other, which is unfortunate because we were just like church friends. I had friends in my neighborhood that we grew up in the neighborhood, and when I'd see them at school, we wouldn't like necessarily talk a whole lot. We got home and we played together, but at school we never talked. Isn't that weird? Weird, right? I don't know. Maybe it's a Detroit thing. I have no idea. Come to church, and it's kind of this thing, and I know that I grew up with it. It was like we went to church, and then we hung out for like until we got to the steps and out the door. And we didn't hang out. We didn't have coffee fellowship. We didn't do any of that stuff. Just go home, take off, and that was it. Occasionally, I would connect with Greg. There was other kids in there. I just, I knew them at church, and we kind of got along, but that was it. As I got older, I found church had a group of people that were kind of close. I think we call those a clique. They were the church. They were the ones the pastor liked because they kissed up to the pastor. We weren't much of a kiss up family. And I just say, so we were never in that clique. I didn't know that growing up until I was much older. Didn't understand the concept. Went to boarding school, then I went to college, graduated from college, got married, graduated from college, same semester, went to Brooklyn. First church we were at in Brooklyn was the first time I got a little flavor of what it was like to be a family. Me and Lloyd were invited all the time to people's houses. We'd eat over there. We had all this different foods, ethnic foods. It was phenomenal. We had, we would pour cafe con leche. Like I never was a coffee until we got to Brooklyn and they served cafe con leche. And they would boil the cafe buelo, They would boil it in a pot and they would pour like this big sock it looked like. And they'd pour it down. It was like, smell it. Oh, that smells good. Real milk, whole milk, pour it in there, sugar in that, and give it to me. And I was like, ah, the heavens open. I was like, now this is coffee. And I was like, oh, thank you. And they're like, oh, anytime. And they meant it. Because we could walk over there and happen to be the neighbor knocking on the door. Marjorie Torres, remember? Oh, man, I fix you. I was like, yes. That's what I was hoping for. And then we went to I was a youth pastor at the time. We go over a sheep's home, the Salankis. They were Indian. Oh, welcome. Come inside. I'll feed you. And they would feed us the most incredible food. I'd be eating. That's what you. This is amazing. I love this. This is like Brooklyn knows how to do church. Until I wasn't at that church anymore. And I realized that that was an anomaly. Because every church I was in after that, I was in several, pastor. Because I thought, well, maybe it's because I'm a pastor now and I'm highly respected. So therefore, people invite me over because I'm a pastor. No, I was a youth pastor. It's like Rodney Dangerfield, no respect, right? No respect. You're just a little guy, it's like whatever. Don't talk to me. Play games with the kids, have fun. Hopefully they turn out well, okay? Parents would come to me saying, why aren't my kids right? And I'm like, what are you asking me for? These are the parents. Yeah, but I bring them to youth group. Now you fix them. I think you've had them a little than me. So I'll do my best, but God willing. Each phase that I went through, going into churches, I always felt like And I was a pastor, one of the pastors. I always felt like the odd man out. I'll be honest with you. Until I came here. It's just this weird thing. And I'm like, I've been so determined to try to make the congregation as much like a family as possible. But the thing is, family isn't always good, is it? And some of us have some very poor memories of our childhood, which I know happens and it's unfortunate. Some people have changed the character, or tried to change the character of God because they had a lousy father, maybe a lousy mother. And so they want to take away that stigma at church and kind of take away the importance of God being a father or a mother. It's like, no, 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 no. Let's not do that. Let's show them the goodness of God and how God is a good father and a good mother. He's that we're created in His image, and so all of that paternal and maternalness that we have is given to us by God, and so each of them are super important. They're super good, just because the example we had may not have been good. We can exemplify and try to help them understand and be fatherly, motherly, right? This is what it means, family. And some of us have been hurt by family desperately, and some of us have been hurt by church desperately. And it's so important for those of us to move from that damage, from that pain, and move together to healing and to unity and to love. You see, that's why I believe this over and over about love. It wasn't exclusive. He said some things, man. And his disciples were like, huh? That's so weird. I don't know what you're talking about. So one of the things when I came here in 2010. Some of you weren't even born then. There. 2010. Yeah. 16 years ago. Insane, right? But we did establish, we as a church have 5 purposes. Some of you know what these 5 are, but I'm embarrassed you. The reason why we have 5 purposes, because if you don't have goals, a purpose in life, you're going to meander around a bit aimlessly. You have to kind of establish goals and purposes in marriage, in your family, job, and all those. We have purposes, right? We have who we are as a family. We want to have a certain identity as a congregation. Some congregations want their identity in one of the characteristics of that denomination. Maybe it's their mode of baptism. Maybe it's their church hierarchy. Whatever. Maybe how they dress. Maybe it's they play. Whatever. We want our identity in a loving family church. People, no matter who you are, no matter where you find yourself, no matter what path on life that you find yourself, you're going to be able to come here and it's safe. Be you. That's what I want. That's what I want to communicate to you. So we have some really wide political, we have really wide moral, we have really wide theological views, but we come together in our faith in Christ, fight the differences in love. So our 5 purposes, and they're just broad, but there's worship, discipleship. Worship, we know what worship is, right? It's like the air we breathe. We have discipleship. It's like the food that we eat. It's like ministry. Ministry. It's like the water that we drink. And then we have it's fellowship is the water we drink. Ministry, I have it written. Might as well look at it. It's like exercise. Eat, and don't. Yeah, we get fat and lazy, right? So it's like, okay, you got to do exercise spiritually. Evangelism, 5th. So we got worship, discipleship, ministry, fellowship, and evangelism. Evangelism is just a big word that we're trying to birth new believers. We're trying to bring people to a relationship with God, experience the gospel, right? It's called evangelism. And so what Paul here does is compares church with a body, with a family. And all of us have gifting. All of us have something. And all of us who are believers, walking in faith, God gives us gifts. We all have gifts that are supposed to be in this body, in this church. Because this is your church. Well, most of you. This is your church. This is where you're supposed to exercise. It's like your family. You know how frustrating it can be, and some of you have experienced this. When you have a family member, let's say it's your dad, who loves to go and help all the neighbors. And he comes home and doesn't do anything. Like you were just over there putting in a ceiling fan for the next door neighbor. You come home, it's like, come on, man, do it here. Matter of fact, you should do it here first, then help them. Just, we're your family. Yeah, I know. I don't have a lot of choice in that, do I? But them, I'm trying to impress. They're the people I'm trying to have, and it's like we've been over there, it's like the shoemaker whose kids have no shoes. It's like the person who, I don't know, auto mechanic or a construction worker or whatever, and their house is always half done, or we all see those, experience all that kind of stuff. We know how it is. But it's like, but first and foremost, we have our. So here is our local church. Now we have a lot of family, spiritual family outside this church. Maybe not a lot in Vermont, but no, we have them everywhere else. We have some in Vermont, right? New Hampshire. But those are like I'm sure you probably do too. I have cousins I've never met. Any of you have cousins that you've never met? Yeah, okay. Yeah, I have first cousins I've never met. I've met them on Facebook. That's it. I'm not like if I saw them in a crowd, I probably would. It was them. That's unfortunate. I wish, but we don't live close, and I don't know them. I wouldn't mind getting to know them, and if we had a family and where a bunch of us got together, that would be awesome. I have first cousins I haven't talked to since I was like 14. I'm not proud of that. It's just we live so far away and we have different lives. There's Christian brothers and sisters we have in our faith that live, miles away and hundreds of miles and thousands of miles. People who are Christians called the body of Christ, called the church invisible. What that's referring to is all believers around the world. They're invisible because we see them all at once. But the visible church is this church with us right here, where we are today. This is where God has called most of us, called us work the gifts have. See, in Corinthians, it says, Paul compares to like your eye. It's like everyone, you might be an eye, got a very strong function. It doesn't make you more important. It's just that to be a fully functioning body, right? The eyes are important. Like the arms are important. The legs are important. The arm can't say to the leg, please. Like, no, and you can't look, the leg can't look at the arm, or the arm can't look at the leg and say, man, God, why couldn't you make me like the leg? I'm not nearly as strong. I want to be strong like the leg. No, it's right? We all have our gifts, we all have that, and we're supposed to use them in the body. Like we use what God has given us in our own selves, in our own families, right? So what we do, work together. We breathe together and worship. You only last a few minutes without oxygen. Just a few minutes, and then you die. Same thing with got to have worship. I realize people say all the time, listen, I don't need to go to church in order to have a relationship with God. I'm saying, listen, I'm not saying that you don't have a relationship. I'm just telling you it's not a good one. If you don't go if you're not part of a community of believers, it may only be 3 people. It doesn't matter. God says we're gathered. There I am. But you got to have something there. Because if it's like being a hermit, you can survive as a hermit with no physical contact with but you'll go nuts. They say that solitary confinement in prison is the worst thing possible. People go nuts. We are not created alone in isolation. We're created to be people. God's created to come together and worship together, breathe together. Then we drink together. We have fellowship, and that water that flows through our bodies, that the cells that spread that through all the different parts. That's like our fellowship. You can last a little while without fellowship. Eventually you're going to die. Discipleship is like the food. I can go probably a long time without food. Fine. Days, maybe even weeks, I don't know. But I won't die. But eventually, so we don't necessarily have to have Bible study. We don't have to do that in order to have a relationship with God. But the problem is, I'm weak. We need that protein, that food. Food is medicine. We want healing. We want food to be able to absorb these things. We need to be able to physically, spiritually. That's at home. That's at church. That's in the body. Ministry is like the exercises I mentioned already. Just walking. They say walking is some of the best things. We're not asking everyone to go out there and marathon or those dumb 5K. I was building up to a 5K. I did it fast. Some of it was probably more fast through Paradise Park, up Devil's Perch, call it. Walking. Like when someone was telling me their doctor says stop running, walk. Hard on you. So it's like, yeah, see, walking's good. You got to stop moving. You become complacent. Your body starts saying, no, this isn't good. Not good. Birthing children is like evangelism. We don't have kids, man. Church is going to go away, right? If we don't have physical children, if everybody stops producing, you know what's worse than overpopulation is extinction. You think being crowded is a problem? I'll tell you something. Having nobody left is a lot worse. And if we're not bringing people, and if we're not reproducing the gospel in lives, just as a congregation, have to be bringing folks. Got to be just part of what we have to. Now I'm talking spiritually, not physically. You know what I'm saying? Not a lot of teenagers here to be like, oh, Pastor, hate a lot. No. I'm saying go out there and invite people. I think someone might have thought it started it. And it was a side note. I thought the car keeps going around. Anyway, sorry, I got a little distracted there. So this morning, I wanted to lay that with us about church. I don't like to talk heavy about church because it sounds self-serving. I'm here as your pastor. I have to share with you. This congregation is vital. There was a few people that told me back in 2010 that the congregation was probably a few months from closing because a few key leaders were kind of saying, we gave it our best shot. Now we're tired. Let's just close this. God brought me here. 16 years later. All right. That's crazy. 16 years later, we're still moving by God's grace. I feel very proud to be a part of that. God and all of us. And if we keep this place, which I think is very special, I think it's very special. It's the closest, like it's the only other church that was like that first church in Brooklyn, where I felt close, right? Like family. Like we have something really, let's not let it die. So we have to move together. We've got to be using our gifts and abilities, those things that God's given to us. Let's walk, nurture, and breathe, drink together, exercise together, so that we do not see or allow this great family of ours to scatter. All right. Hear an amen? All right. I like it. Let's pray.